Okay, so on our last conversation, we were talking about money, and I had this question about self worth and why people behave differently around money. And so this was your answer, and this brought up another question based on this answer. So we'll go ahead and play this real quick.
Money should never change who you are. It's never changed me. Sure, I have changed, but what I am in my core, never. No way, man. I'm still the same person.
Okay, so I mean, then the question is, well, why do we think people change when they encounter money? And I got to thinking about this, and I guess I'll tee this up, and you can respond. What I saw money as after hearing you say this is it's an amplifier. It amplifies who you are. And so the reason people change, I think, is because it actually pulls out who they've been all along. And so, what are your thoughts on that? It's almost like a teacher.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of now, I used to train and I used to bodybuild. This is years ago. Before I got into, I ran gear, ran testosterone, as well as some other PEDs. And people would they would always say, oh, they're going to make you mean. They're gonna change you. And I would always kind of laugh at that. And it's like, okay, we'll see about that. And it doesn't. But what you just said, and that's why that just kind of struck a memory, is it amplifies. So if you're someone that is short-tempered and you run PEDs, yep, that temper is going to come out. Absolutely, 100%. And same thing with money. And I know it's kind of a weird example and a weird lead-in, but it was a thought that came to my mind. And that's exactly what happens. But I don't think it's just that. I think what it has to do with why it changes people is because we're bombarded by content, Hollywood, media, everything, billboards, everything. It doesn't matter. We're just subjected to an extreme amount of content. And it's been like that forever. Marketing works. Okay. And where I'm going with this is we get told how we're supposed to be if you have money. You get told that you need to wear fancy shoes and fancy shirts and fancy clothes, and you have to ride on private jets, and you have to drive crazy cars, and you have to wear fancy watches, and we get told. So when you first come into money, I think that's what happens. That brainwashing is real. It's a real thing, right? It's not tinfoil hat shit. And we're all brainwashed. We're brainwashed in how we think we should be, especially when that lifestyle that you've come into should have never happened. It's never in your cards. It was never in my cards. So when you first get that money, you're going to do certain things. You're going to go out and you're going to spend crazy amounts of money because you can. And then after a time, it doesn't mean that it changes you, right? And that's not even necessarily a bad thing. You should enjoy your money. I'm a huge advocate of that. You can't take it with you. As long as your family's set up, you've set up your friends, and there's nothing that can hurt you. There's no bills that you have. Spend some money, right? But I think that's kind of like, I think that's what it leads into, or why people do the things that they do, and how money can change them. And if you don't catch yourself, you're fucked. You're gonna go down that road of being a complete douchebag. That's what you're gonna be. You're gonna be wearing the Gucci shirts and the chains with the bling and all of that, something that you aren't, right? I got dirt under my fingernails right now because I'm at my farm. Obviously, I'm not in my office. I'm up in the farm in the mountains in Costa Rica. And we work out here, but I don't consider it work. This is fun time, man. Like, we just delivered a calf the other day, and that's messy. And cleaning out the stalls in the morning here for the horses, that's messy. But, and there's some people that maybe that's not their bag, but it's just, that's who I am, right? Like, I don't mind getting dirty. I'm not going to always just pay someone to do the dirty work. because
Mhm.
none of this is work to me. This is the life that I've chosen. So I embrace it. You know, to bring it back to what you said about it being an amplifier, that's what it does. It definitely amplifies. It'll bring you to a place where, like I said, with PEDs, your steroids, can you be an asshole on them? Oh, yeah, definitely. You definitely can, right? But that's in you anyways. So it's only going to bring that out in you. Same thing with money. Same thing.
Okay, yeah. Well, so now, and just tie that into why do we, like, you take someone who's maybe paper trading, money's off the table. Then you put them in the same situation, like the impact of just the idea of money, because that's all that changed is just the idea of it. Nothing else technically changed whatsoever. And so, how does that expose a trader in as they face their own limitations and either their biases or prejudice or fear or greed around money? How is that being amplified?
I think, well, okay, let's start with paper trading. And I'll give you my thoughts on that and we'll kind of get into the question. So paper trading, I have no problems with that. But people have this weird, they want to see how much money they can make because they want that taste of it. They want a taste of it. They want to see what it would be like to make that much money. But that's not based in reality. And it also boils down to people lying to themselves. It's a major, major issue. And that's why I don't have a problem with paper trading, but I have a problem with paper trading because people are going to oversize. They're going to oversize in their paper trading account because they want to see what it would be like or if they can make that because it makes them feel good instead of like what's going to feel better at the end of the day. I made $10 trading a trade well, or I made $10,000. I could have made $10,000, and that's a lie that people will make right inside of their heads. And I think that that's a major issue. So if you're doing it properly, paper trading's fine. If you're being realistic and you're setting those realistic goals and expectations, right? But not a lot of people will have the foresight to do that. And that's why they're going to fail. And that's also why you're going to pick up a bunch of like really dirty habits, paper trading, because they're oversizing, because they want to get a taste of what's ahead. They're getting too far ahead is what it is. I think that that's just a major, major issue. And at the end of the day, people need to stop doing that. They just really need to come into this with realistic expectations. And everything will work out. But the problem is people don't trust. You know the saying like trust the process? Like we've all heard that, right? Like trust the process. If you've never been through a process, you don't know what that means. Therefore, it becomes an issue because you don't believe in it. You don't know how when you're work the process, right? The process, it'll all work out. It's hard for people to actually put faith in that because they've never had proof of it in their minds. If you can actually put faith in that the process will work out, you'll see how it starts clicking. And you'll see how all of this shit just becomes self-fulfilling because it's baby steps. And I know I'm using a lot of cliche terms. I know I am. And it sounds like word salad, but that's the best way to describe it. Like there's no other way to tell you other than you need to trust the process. But here's the bonus. You're hearing it from someone that has trust the process and has been through it and knows it does work out. But that's why you need to put faith and trust in the coach that you're learning from. You need to trust them completely, or else none of it's going to work. It's going to work for you or it's going to work against you. And that's on you, right? A lot of people like to blame the person that they're paying. And in a lot of cases, yeah, that may be true, right? Because they don't know what they're doing. But for the ones that do, although small, but there are some out there, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really weird thing because, and I'll confess that it took me a long time to realize that I was fighting you. And it's the weirdest thing because you probably would not consider me as someone who would be confrontational.
No.
That I would not be someone that would resist what you're saying because I would show up every day. I would take notes. I would do my screenshots. But when it came time to take the trade, I realized I wasn't listening. And, I had this epiphany one day that it said, "You're fighting Pat." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "No way. I hang on every word he says." But I did up to a point where I had to walk the rope without the net. And that's when I wasn't believing. And it was, I don't know if it was a conflict internal or a combination of trust, but I'll just say about trusting the process, it's a really weird thing to fully let go and forget. You just almost have to put yourself in a state of nothingness and just let the wind take you to actually trust the process. And it's especially being an entrepreneur where you're always depending on yourself to get things done. And you've learned through hardship, you can't trust people because they're always going to let you down. 100%. So it was a very long journey of almost fakery, pretending I was learning, pretending I was listening.
Yeah, and that's a prime example of how trusting the process is really difficult. Like Adam's been through this. Adam's been through trusting the process before. Yet coming in and having to, like he said, having to rely on someone else, which is me, having to trust me, puts up that block. But through time, he's seeing that day in and day out, I'm making sense. I'm not full of shit. This is actually doable. Once he believes that, a switch flips in his head, and then he starts to trust the process of day trading. So it doesn't necessarily matter if you've been through something like this before. There's a lot of you that are successful business owners or successful entrepreneurs that are now getting into trading. And through building that previous business that you had to do it yourself. You are why it got up off the ground, not anyone else, because anyone else that you had to rely on let you down. So then you have to find the right coach, the right person to put your trust in. They're few and far between, but they are out there. It may take some time. Don't get discouraged. If you go into 5 different rooms, 5 different services, and 4 leading up to that 5th were all complete garbage. I know how frustrating it is. We just had a member come in, obviously from another service, and he's having a hard time trusting. When you first come into a service, you have there's no data there. You've never seen this person before. But this is where, especially when the service that we have at Tricktrades, and I don't want this to sound like some sort of commercial because it isn't, but we have adults. Our clientele, our members are adults. These aren't kids. A lot of these people have respectable jobs or previous jobs, commercial airline pilots, former homicide detectives, teachers, farmers. These people are smart. They're competent men and women. Again, we cater to adults. Ask them. Ask the members. They're not going to lie to you. They have no holdings there, right? Mm-hmm. Ask them. And that's going to help you. It's like, if you see something that like maybe seems a little off, ask them. Ask the members. Or ask the coach. Just say like, "Hey man, I kind of noticed you did this. Why would you do that? That doesn't make sense to me." And if he's a good coach, he'll tell you either, "Well, actually, I kind of fucked up on that one." Or number 2, "This is why I did it. And this is why it does make sense. And this is why rewiring needs to happen." So then you can see things correctly. So again, taking it even from Adam, someone that has found success in life previous to this, he found it difficult. It's hard. It's hard relying on other people. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway is you need to stick with it until you finally do. It's like something flicks. Like I've said 1,000 times before, you're going to have these light bulb moments, and that's part of the process. And they're going to hit you in the weirdest times. I've said this for the last 7 years straight now. They don't happen when you're in front of the charts. They happen when you are at the grocery store, in the shower, hell, having a conversation with your wife, and some thought comes into your head. You know, I mentioned this in the Mentoring Live class here this morning. Thoughts are interesting. Where do they come from? Because they seemingly come from nowhere, out of the thin air. And that's how this works. It just, something zaps you, and it's like, oh shit, I get it now, right? And that's what you need to trust. You need to trust that these thoughts, these ideas, these light bulb moments will happen.
Well, and to that positive part, we have to be very wary of the negative thoughts that just pop out of nowhere and allow those to germinate because they can destroy a trader. Yeah.
They're cancer. That's what they are. And it's hard not to have those negative thoughts. Why? Because you're probably getting bombarded by them at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening. Name one person that actually believes in you right now. You might have one, maybe, right? So anyone that you've told, hey, I'm going to pursue a career in day trading, I'm going to become a day trader, they're going to laugh at you. Let them laugh. Don't let them corrupt your mind. If I listen to people, if I listen to the people I worked with previous, if I listen to my parents, if I listen to friends, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't. There's no way. If I let those cancerous negative thoughts corrupt my mind, nope. They're going to tell you you're delusional. You know what you tell them? Yes. Yes, I am. I am fucking delusional, and I love it, and I'm going to embrace it. Because you do need a tiny touch of delusion in order to do this. You have to believe in yourself on a level that the majority of the population on this planet do not possess. They don't believe in themselves. You need to take it to a level that is a touch, just ticking into delusion. Have to.
Well, and that's where having a coach comes in, because a coach lets you keep your feet on, helps you keep your feet on the ground. Right? So you can get delusional in a safe way without just getting delusional and destructive, which is so easy to do in this game.
If you find the right coach that isn't going to sugarcoat shit, because the one thing that I see out there, and I don't want to seem like I'm slamming these guys, because there are some good coaches out there, like I said before, but they are few and far between. And this is probably the leading reason why. It's because they run a business. That's how they look at this. And I'm not talking about their day trading, okay? They're running a business of a trading service. Do I run a business? Yes. Is it my primary motive or objective? No, absolutely not. My main objective is to coach people how to do this. And sometimes I'm going to bark. I'm going to bite. I'm going to put you up in a really uncomfortable position, because we've all seen these pineapple sweater wearing coaches out there. They're not coaches. They're service owners, and they'll always smile. I remember I went into a room just to take a look for a laugh. I know, it's petty. Yeah, I know, I'm petty. I get it. I accept it. But went into a room, and there was a member that typed in chat talking about remortgaging his house, and he was broke. Now remember, this is not my service. Not one single person, including that service owner, commented. Not even the members did. Now I got a question for you, Adam. If that happened in Tricktrades, what would happen?
Well, the person would be said absolutely, you would be tell them not to do that under any circumstances.
And not just from me, but the members as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's about not sugarcoating shit. It's about the truth. You need to seek the truth on a whole other level as a trader. It's going to be uncomfortable. There's a lot of self-work involved. Look at all my other videos. It's what I talk about mainly. It's not even about the technicals, right? There's a lot of technicals that I give out there for free, but it's mainly the mindset. And if people are looking at it correctly, that's the gold. That's the pure gold. But a lot of people, they'll take the opposite route and say, oh man, show me some trades, show me some technicals. Technicals are technicals, guys. Support, resistance is resistance. It's the mentality and the mindset, rewiring, looking at things correctly. That's the hard part. That's why I focus on that.
Yeah, that takes years, unfortunately,
Yeah.
because we don't listen. It doesn't need to take that long, but we don't listen. We being me, knowing and looking back, I knew better. You're telling me exactly what to do somewhere along the line. Oh, I missed a trade I I'm going to take, so I'll just take this BS trade, and I'll see what happens.
Yeah, totally. You're going to take those trades, the trades that you're going to have a good trade in mind. Why? Because I gave it to you during the pre-market plan of attack. Those are our trade plans for the day. And a person is going to see that it's taking more time than originally projected, and they're going to get undisciplined and impatient, and they're going to chase after some bullshit trade. Oh, I'll just I got lots of time till that other trade triggers. I'll just take this one. They'll tell themselves lies. And then what happens? You completely shit the bed. And then what happens? Well, now that you took a loss, you're not going to be able to trigger on the one that actually mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Be disciplined, be patient. It'll all work out. I've proven it 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. Well, maybe not 1,000,000 times, but tens of thousands of times that if you miss one opportunity, you will get another one. The market is full of opportunity, and it's just a matter of time. That's all you need to do. You just need to give it time, give it patience, and it'll work out. You got to tell yourself that. And it's like, it's almost accessing that tiny bit of delusion in telling yourself it'll all work out. That's how I did it. I just told myself it'll all work out. Life has a funny way of working out. It does. If you actually take a look at it from a clear perspective, even all the negative things that happened, right? Like the bad things, some of the worst things in your life that happened. What came next? Trace it back. Now, I got a DUI when I was 18 years old. One of the worst days of my life. That was a real low point because I had moved away from Edmonton to Medicine Hat, which is about 6 hours south, to go work for a family friend. And on day 2, I piled my truck into a Park 2000 Pathfinder right in front of the cop shop. And the cop that gave me a speeding ticket the morning before came out and said, city boy, you're back. I knew you'd be back. And sure enough, got arrested, got a DUI, lowest point in my life. Didn't get a lawyer, wanted the judge to throw the book at me. I felt so horrible for my decisions resulting in damaging someone else's property. And long story short, that's what led me to get my shit together in a lot of ways. It led me to search why I do the things that I do, the self-destructive behavior at the time that I did. And then I found mushrooms, I found psychedelics, and which helped me put in a lot of self-work. And I'm not saying that that's the answer for everybody, but it was for me, and it helped me greatly. And that's why I'm here. I've discussed this with Adam, where I give a lot of credibility and the reason why I'm here to that, because of that self-work and those journeys, because sometimes they're not pleasant, but that's what you need. So I'm just telling you about one bad thing in my life, one of the worst things that happened to me. Now, I've seen a lot of crazy shit, and there's some things I'll never discuss on camera. But each and every time something bad happened, and it doesn't even need to be that dramatic. It can be something smaller that's like just bad news. It's like, oh, that sucks. This is going to be a pain in the ass. What did it stop you from doing? What happened next? If you can have the ability to kind of flip the script in your head, so to speak, kind of change that negative narrative into something and flip it into a positive, that is a superpower, man. Let me tell you. Because then no matter what happens in life, you're good. You're good. And it leads you to take care of those things up front. Because you don't want to experience that bad shit. Nobody does. But no matter what you do, it's going to happen. But if you start taking care of things ahead of time, you'll find that that stuff happens less and less. And all of those bad things, it's all your fault anyways. It's your fault. It's nobody else's, right? As long as you accept that it's your fault. Like, Adam and I just discussed something, and I actually blamed someone And because I'm so used to blaming this person because he was an absolute shit show. But I immediately blamed this person. And I said in the conversation, if I would have known that, there's no way I would have done it. And Adam, being the person that he is, he pulled up the messages and he showed me where I agreed to it. Now, this decision cost my company $31,000 in change. So that's a big bill. It's a big mistake. It's not a mistake that's small. And what did I say? I said, it is what it is. It's on me. I accept that. That's it. There's nothing else you can do. Sometimes we look for that quick escape. And I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it. I'm guilty of it too. But I'm just being honest with you. But you got to catch yourself doing that. And you have to have fucking people around you that aren't afraid to call you on your bullshit. Not that he was calling me on my bullshit. He was just setting the record straight, which I appreciate immensely. There's nothing worse, and I don't mean to get off on a rant here, but there is fucking nothing worse in life than being surrounded by a fucking yes man. I had that shit for years that was nothing but a yes man. And it does nothing for you. Nothing. So when you find people that are willing to put their balls on the chopping block, because that's what it is. How many people have you worked for in your life that if you would have called your boss on their bullshit, you'd be like, fuck, now I'm a marked man. That's why people don't. Well, I don't roll like that. I appreciate that shit because it sets it straight. It's just the truth. The truth is the truth. It doesn't have to be a kindergarten mentality way of looking at the truth. Like, I'm going to get in trouble. Fuck that shit. That's for children. We're adults. If you make a mistake, own it, move on. No big deal, man. And this shit all ties in, right?
Well, and Pat, I mean, you've helped me see that there's no higher value than truth, and especially, and I think you're talking about this morning. It's like with yourself, because that is the hardest maze of mirrors. That is the fun house of fun houses, the mirrors inside ourselves where lies hide. And if we can't fight those dragons and win, we have no chance at this game of trading or anything in life. Relationships, the challenges ahead of us are not kindergarten. They're real and they're serious, and lives are on the line. And there's nothing more important than truth. And you've helped me see that.
Absolutely. And it's not something that's easy, like Adam just said. And it has a lot to do with ego. Mm-hmm. We don't want to admit we're wrong. Who wants to admit they're wrong? You want to fight that, right? Mm-hmm. And it makes you feel funny. It makes you feel weird. But you just have to look at it differently. It's just the truth is the truth, and that's it. Like that's all it is. It's just the truth. Like, it's not something that you need to like overly dwell on or feel bad about. It's like, oh, I was the one that fucked up. It's like, how many people are watching this right now? Think of the last time that you fucked up and you hid it. And even when somebody called you on it, you still wanted to hide it. You wanted to backpedal your way out of the situation. Fuck that. You know what the easiest solution is? Fucking, it is what it is, man. I fucked it up. Okay, that's on me. Done. That's it. It's so quick, painless. It's ridiculous. If people only knew how easy that shit is, like really, once you do it, it's over with. It's done. It's stomped out. If you continue to backpedal and lie, and it's like, or like, stand your ground and all this nonsense, what's going to happen? You're going to have this guy now, Adam, looking at me like I'm a fucking idiot. So now I've got someone that's working with me thinking I'm a fucking idiot. Who wants that? I don't want that. And there's going to be a lack of trust. He knows the truth. We're all adults. We're not stupid. We know what the truth is, especially when it's in black and white right in front of you. It's the truth. There's no denying it. It is what it is, right? Just accept it and move on, and that's it. You know, it never even needs to be discussed again. You know, it's just like once it's dealt with, it's dealt with. Like, I think back to being a welder. I would get into confrontations with a foreman or just another welder, a fitter, whoever, because they're doing something so completely stupid. So you call them on it. Or maybe you're really close with this person, but you're spending a lot of time together. See, I used to work up in camp. And it would get to a point with these guys, and there's a lot of times where I worked on crews where I love these guys like fucking brothers, but you spend enough time with them and they'll scratch their nose at the dinner table or something, and you look at them like, I'm gonna fucking kill you if you do that again. And it's nothing, right? It's just, it's one of those things. And then you have it out, you bark at each other, and then after, it's all good. It's like, that's happened, I can't even count how many times, right? And sometimes you need to do that, where it's just, you need to blow off that steam. There's nothing wrong with that either. Sure, could it be handled better? Yeah, of course it could. Everything could be handled better. But sometimes that's not the way it gets fucking handled, right?
Right.
And then you move on. There's no hard feelings. If you have hard feelings after that because someone called you on your bullshit or you called them on your bullshit, and there's hard feelings after, then you're not a man. You're not a woman. You're a child. That's what you are. You're hiding from shit. It's like you're just not being honest. It just boils down to the truth. That's all I want. I just want the fucking truth, man. You know?
Yeah, that's just critical. And how many? I know I see it in the room where you can always tell the truth shines like a light because it's almost uncanny. You can tell that they know they did something that they shouldn't have done, and they're trying to get around it and ask you what to do without telling you the truth. And it's just amazing how you can't hide it. They think they can, but
No.
you just never. You're just lying to yourself that it's out there for everyone to see.
Yeah, and it's like you're not talking to your children. You're talking to a competent, intelligent adult. That person knows. That person knows. You're not going to get away with it. And I'm the type of guy, what do? Anytime I sniff that out, even before they tell me, I tell them exactly what they did. It's like, oh, no, you didn't enter where you should have entered. You entered way early because I asked you what your average is, and that's impossible to have an average like that. So it's like, why not just cut to the chase? I started in early, and it's like conversations like that, they always start when it's like, oh man, I took that trade and it was a horrible loss. And it's like, well, it shouldn't have been. There was only like 30 or 40 cent risk. That shouldn't be a bad loss. So what did you do? Did you oversize? No, I only took 5 contracts. Okay. Well, your loss is bigger than mine and I'm trading way more size than you. So what did you do? Competent adults know what the story is. Lying it's absolutely useless. You're just going to look stupid. That's what's going to happen, right? So just head it off at the pass. Just be honest. I can always respect honesty. If somebody's just honest and say, look, listen, I fucked up big time, I'll never hold someone to the point where it's like, if they work for me and they're honest, and let's say it's a massive fuck up, I wouldn't think any differently. If they just, hey, look, I fucked up. This is what happened. It's like, okay, we need to solve it now. That's it. Like, just go into solving mode. It's not blaming mode, right? It's like, this is a problem now that just needs to be solved, and we need to solve this as quickly as possible before the damage spirals. That's all.
Right.
We'll wrap this one up. I hope everyone really enjoys these podcasts. We want to start doing them more. We'll start working out the kinks and everything, guys, as we get going. But I think this one went pretty smooth. And thanks for giving up your Sunday like this, your Sunday morning, Adam. I appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. Honored to be here.
Okay, guys, have a good one. We'll see you on the next one. Adios.